time has finally come. In celebration of our favorite Italian bundlers' super sweet 35th, Nintendo released the 3D All-Star Pack, containing 3 of Mario's biggest hits, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. Needless to say, I, along with many others, were super stoked when this announcement came out. But the lead up to this release was not the kindest. My first issue doesn't really involve the game itself, more the handling of what Nintendo had been doing. Firstly, this is a limited title. And what that means is that when March 2021 rolls around, this game is no longer going to be available for purchase. Whether it be physically or digitally, it will disappear from the database completely. So my thought process is why Nintendo would even bother releasing such an amazing title and only limit it to not give players the chance to actually play this. It's something that people have been wanting for a long time, to be able to play all these classics, and we're now on a ticking time bomb of when we can actually get it. I'm sure they have their reasons, but to me it seems really mundane, if you will. Secondly, it turned out that these games aren't remasters. Data miners found out that these are actually emulators. They're emulated games from the original consoles. So you're pretty much playing these games as if you were playing them on their respective consoles from back in the day, which, oh boy. At this point, my thoughts were starting to get really negative about this title, and I started to regret my pre-order purchase, and started to think maybe I should have just waited instead of giving in to nostalgia and hype. Well, I mean, that was until actually I played the game itself. Now, Mario's been around for pretty much my entire life. I played the absolute heck out of Super Mario 64, but I was never able to play Sunshine or Galaxy due to not owning a GameCube or a Wii back in the day. Starting up the game, with buying this, you're given 3 full games for the price of 1, which to me is worth its $60 price tag. You're getting 3 entire adventures for one pretty reasonable price. I ran each game for about an hour or two, just to get gameplay, to see how it feels, see what kind of frame issues we were doing, see if, like, there are any glitches and stuff like that. I played all of these in dock mode, so just to get a good feel for it. And I will be playing handheld off screen just because I want to enjoy these titles by myself. Starting up, you are greeted with each game and its respective soundtracks. Now, my first issue above it, you can tell Nintendo really didn't have their hearts into remaking this, or rather bringing these classics into this pack, because the main menu, it's lazy. It is extremely lazy. You're greeted with the, ensemble of 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, but it's just a menu. It's a menu select. I feel like they could have done something better with that. I mean, picture this, alright? Picture this. What if instead of being this plain menu where you just select and jump into the game, they had like a hub world, right? And each designated area was for its respective game. So you'd have, like, the polygonal world of Super Mario 64, and like you'd have Delfino Island with Sunshine, and so on and so forth, right? Like, how cool would that be, included with like extras of, like, of course we get our soundtrack, but it's like a music player, and then maybe like seeing some other stuff like concept designs, behind the scenes stuff, composing, stuff like that, stuff you'd want to see as a celebration for this icon that's been around for so long. But it's not. It's a very lazy way of just being, alright, play whatever you want. You asked for it, here it is, now leave us alone. That, to me, that's what I feel they're going for. But aside from that, let's go into the first game that I played, which was Super Mario 64. Now, this game has been in my life for a long time. I played it back when I was a child, and it was a nostalgia trip. Now, but before I go rambling on, let's talk performance. Performance-wise, it runs pretty smoothly, which I'm kind of surprised about. It runs pretty smooth, and these are all in dock mode. The graphics have been smoothed out to give it a higher resolution, but as for framing, you're going to be playing in the 4:3 aspect ratio. It wasn't too much of a complication, if you will. I didn't mind it personally, but I could see why it would kind of get tiring after a while, especially if like you don't have like a big TV or anything, so you're staring at like through a small window. But it's not that bad. They could have widescreened it, sure, but it's not something I would like decimate them for. But anyways, gameplay, it feels just as stiff and janky as it did back in the day. But, you know, even though it was, I still had a stupid ass smile across my face as I was playing it. But this was more because it was nostalgia. I remember being frustrated, and when I was a dumb little kid, you know, just trying to jump around, collect the stars. I never actually beat 64 because I was a dumb child, but it was still fun. It was still a lot of fun. Although I can see that for new players, people who have never played this title before, I can see them getting frustrated really quickly with the camera and the controls. When you go to something super smooth to something super janky, like, you notice it immediately and you're gonna get mad because you're like, well, why isn't it like this game? Why isn't it like that? And trust me, I just finished playing Odyssey, and jumping into 64 was brutal because I kept doing moves that that you do in Odyssey, like throwing your cap. I would do that in 64, and then for a second I'd be like, oh right, this game came out all these years ago, of course they're not gonna have that. But again, performance and gameplay, it's just like it did back in the day. It's a nostalgia trip, in my case. But moving on, we're gonna move on to Sunshine. Oh boy! Right off the bat, let's talk graphics. They're pretty good, actually. They look really, really nice. In terms of like water and the lighting and everything, it looks nice. It looks like almost like it could pass as like a 2013 game. It doesn't look bad, but there are just some aspects of it, like in terms of characters. When you're talking to certain characters, for example, like Peach, she looks like she's made out of paper mache. But it gets me every time. Gameplay, it still runs pretty smooth. I didn't see any frame drops from what I had played, but that could just be stroke of luck. I'm not saying these games are running perfectly, it's just a stroke of luck that I didn't get any frame drops, but it ran smooth. Control wise, it runs good. It's responsive, it does what you need it to, and they adjusted it to where it will actually work for the Switch. The only thing that I can see that was kind of dumb for them to do is that you can't use the GameCube controller with it, which is kind of dumb considering there's an adapter for it. But again, I'm betting on, because these are emulators and not actual worked up remasters, that could probably be the factor as to why, which again, Nintendo, lazy. Other than that, the game runs well. It runs really good, it looks beautiful, and I for one, who have never played this game, will find a lot of enjoyment in it. It was a cute experience. It was a really cute experience. I mean, it's gonna take me some time to get used to Flood and his controls, switching between the nozzles and then using all the water-based stuff, but I'm excited. I can't wait to hop in and just start playing the crap out of it. But I can't wait to see where this little vacation adventure leads Mario and his crew. And now finally we're going to talk about Galaxy, which is, from what I've seen, the most awaited one out of the little trilogy we got going on here. So I'm going to be completely honest with everyone, fully transparent. When I recorded these games, like I said before, I was only going to do about an hour of gameplay for each just to get first impressions and upload them up and do this, right? This game, I ended up recording over 2.5 hours of footage. At one point, I had just forgotten that I was actually recording the gameplay, and I was just playing. Like, I was fully engrossed in what Galaxy had to offer. The entire time, I had this goofy-ass smile across my face. Graphics-wise, okay, we need it. Graphics-wise, it looks amazing. It looks so good. If you were to tell me, if I had no knowledge of Galaxy, and if you were to tell me it was a new game that just came out like last year, or even this year, I would believe you. Now, it doesn't have graphic levels such as like Odyssey, where, you know, you can see every pore in Mario's face, but it looks more like a Super Mario World title. You know, the 2D side-scrollers. That's what it reminds me of. It's insane because, again, with the knowledge of knowing this is an emulator, it still baffles me that it looks that good. But there were some frustrating things along the way. Controls, it goes pretty good, but with the landscape being full 3D and the camera being locked a good majority of time except for certain areas, it was really hard to get used to it. But I never found myself wanting to quit or punch something. I never found myself so frustrated to the point where I was like, I'm turning this off and playing anything else. Thankfully, as well, they adjusted the controls for handheld. Galaxy was originally released on the Wii, which utilized motion controls and a sensor bar. Now that motion controls are built straight into our Joy-Cons, there's no need for the sensor bar. And they have adjusted to that. The motion controls for the Joy-Cons in dock mode are pretty responsive. They're pretty smooth. I didn't find any jankiness nor any like delay in my inputs. And the best part is that they also adjusted to handheld mode. So you can still play this game on the go without the need or worry of like putting up the stand and having to play it that way. They utilized the feature that I forgot the Switch even had, which is touchscreen. So you collect your star bits using the touchscreen rather than your controller. It was a pleasant surprise to remember that the Switch has touchscreen controls. And it works well. It's not bad. It's a little annoying because, you know, you have to remove your hand from your core assets, which is your spinning move and then your jump ability. But I don't see it as a huge issue, if you will. But performance-wise, there was hardly any frame drops or glitches. Now, I have seen a few. I've seen a few people run into glitches where Mario just kind of flies into space or he's just stuck T-posing. I'm not saying there aren't. I personally just didn't run into any when I was playing. But all in all, as someone who's never played Super Mario Galaxy, I was immediately engrossed. I was immediately in love with this game. And I can tell you that I am super excited to get into this and to be able to play it and experience this for the first time where everyone else has already had a chance to play it. Like, I'm so excited to play it. Now, I've spent the last like 15 minutes kind of talking about these, just giving my impressions on them. But, and it might sound like I'm kind of vouching for Nintendo here and saying like, oh, they're doing no wrong. That's not the truth. There are issues with this title, okay? It's not a perfect game, but I feel like it's a perfect time capsule. Let me explain. Now, I can't really vouch for Sunshine or Galaxy, but I can for 64, because I played so much of it growing up. 64 feels like it did when I was a kid, and I know it'll be fun to revisit with, my parents and my brother, like, the stuff that that anyone can really know about. It felt so nostalgic based. But when it comes to Sunshine and Galaxy, coming from someone who's never played those games before and has only seen like other people play it, or have only heard about it mentioned in conversations, like, I'm stoked. I can't wait to get in and see what those adventures are about. Like, I can't wait to experience it with like some of my friends who have never played this, if they're willing, or even my family, because surprisingly they love Mario just as much as I do. It's not gonna be for everyone. This title isn't for everyone. It's not adjusted for a new wave of Mario players, if you will. But it's very much reliving those adventures of when you were younger and bringing them to a new generation. They'll be frustrated, of course. I'm not saying they won't be. But it'll be interesting to see them experience it in a way that either we had when we were younger, or an entirely different way. I, for one, can't wait to get back into playing this and experiencing the rest of his adventures. All in all, did Nintendo ruin Mario's 35th anniversary? Nah, I really don't think so. But it was lazy. They didn't ruin it, but this was super lazy. But here's the thing. Even when Nintendo does the bare bones minimum with this collection, because that's what they did, even with the bare bones, barely doing anything, the one thing they can never screw up is how fun these games can be. How fun Mario is. That's the one thing they can never get rid of. The fun and happiness that Mario brings to the table. Anyways, I've been ranting for about 20 minutes now, so I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts. Remember, these are all my opinions and mine alone, so don't take it personally. And besides, I'm just some idiot on the internet. So, see you all later.